Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Amir Khillah from Lightning Kicks. I'm here with my teacher, Jeremy Horn. If you don't know Jeremy Horn, shame on you. He's a really bashful guy, so I don't want to go too much into a crazy introduction, but this guy basically taught me everything I know in mixed martial arts, has one of the biggest win streaks in mixed martial arts, super humble, super kind, and I just wanted to connect my students at Lightning Kicks directly to the source of what I've learned. Jeremy, how's it going today?
I'm doing well. I hear you're snowed out over there. We have like the exact opposite. You would think in Utah it'd be a little worse, but dry streets, not much snow anywhere.
In Kalamazoo, I literally cannot get out of the house right now.
Wow.
Which is kind of a shame because we had belt promotions planned for tonight, and everybody's super excited. But we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna push it back to the next day that we're open, hopefully tomorrow. But you never know because the forecast is calling for a whole lot more of snow to come down this week with frigid temperatures. But Jeremy, we're running into this a lot with the new guys. We've had an influx of new students come in, and one of the biggest questions we're getting is, how long do I have to train before I could take a fight? And I know that everybody's different, but I'm having a hard time articulating to the students what the requirements are, because we don't really have a set number of months or skills that you have to have, but I'm not going to send anybody into the cage if they're not ready.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of those things it's obviously it's really hard to put a number on, because people that come to the gym, I had one guy that started training with me, and he was a professional boxer. He had been since he was a little kid, so obviously very, very good on his feet, very good athlete. We let him fight after a month. You know, he started grappling. He was picking things up really quick. He clearly understood it. Like, good, you're good enough to get started at least. But with the background of being a pro boxer most of his life, it's a little different. You know, I have other people that have trained with me for 2 or 3 years that just don't train seriously enough to want to fight. So the answer is really anything from a month to 5 years. But more importantly, I think there's a couple things you need to focus on. Is number one, if you're coming to a gym because your only goal is because you want to fight, then there's a problem already. You need to come to a gym because you love the martial arts, you love to train, and you love the environment that you're being part of. I mean, it's we say it all the time. Martial arts is a cultural thing. You need to go to the gym because you love what you're doing there. And if that's the case, then you will progress way faster than somebody that is at the gym solely because they're hoping to get a fight. Exactly. There's a few people that the rare ones that love martial arts but also love to compete. Those are the guys that are then because I love this. That's not the same person that's like, hey, I want to fight because I think it's an easy paycheck. I don't really like training. I just want to fight, and I will train as much as I need to get a fight. Those guys are never going anywhere. So that'd be the one thing is try to decipher from that person, do you love martial arts and you love to compete and you want to compete as fast as you can, or are you just looking for a fight because you think it's an easy payday?
Right.
Yeah,
we try to stress that it's really about the journey, not the
absolutely.
Enjoying that, making yourself a better person all around. Which leads me into my next question for you. A lot of guys have been coming in on the opposite end of the spectrum. They love the sport, they love the martial arts, and they have no desire whatsoever to compete. Feeling like they're not one of the guys or they don't belong because they're not going to go through that rite of passage, so to speak. These are young professionals or older people, just people that have no interest in competing whatsoever. And I try to tell them that, man, it's all about the journey, and we love you just because of the hard work that you put in on the mat, the heart that you show every day. You're consistent in practice. Nothing says that these guys have to compete to get our acceptance, right?
Right. That's another thing. I mean, obviously, people, again, the same message applies. You need to be at the gym training because you love martial arts. Right. You love the fitness, you love the community, you love the people, you love the technique. Oddly enough, though, what I generally find is a lot of people, if you're at the right gym, and obviously yours is, they're going to want to fight sooner or later. Mm-hmm. because they come to the gym because they're just interested and curious. They've watched MMA, but they're never going to fight. I'm too out of shape, Right. And then after about 6 months, they get in shape and they start wrestling a little bit harder with their teammates, and they're really starting to have fun and get competitive. And then give another 6 months, and they're like, hey, I kind of think maybe I want to try one of those grappling tournaments. Can I do one of those?
Right.
Because that's the thing. I mean, when you're doing a sport like MMA or BJJ where it's real, you get to the point where you're like, hey, this works. I want to see if I can really do it. So I had a guy that did exactly that. He joined the gym and he's like, look, I don't want to fight. Can I still train here? I have no interest in fighting. I just like this. After about 6 months, he's like, hey, I think maybe I want to try fighting,
Right.
Because you're doing it over and over and over. And eventually you're like, hey, it's like you drive a fast car. Sooner or later you I want to see how fast this car could really go.
Let me take this out for a spin.
Exactly, because you're going to want to try to do it. And when you're doing a sport that's real, where you're actually getting real resistance and real, competitive feel in the gym, that curiosity is going to start going. And maybe you don't want to do it as a career or even as a pro, but everybody's going to want to try it out sooner or later. And I've not met many people that don't.
Right. Well, yeah, I've been there. You can't. You're not going to make me compete, are you? No.
Right.
Down the road.
Yeah, and then you can't stop them.
Yeah, about this competition thing. Could we reassess that?
Yeah.
I know you're real busy. I just have one more thing for you
to
cover with these guys. We've had, like I said, a huge number of people sign up in January, New Year's resolutions, stuff like that, which always makes me angry because then you can't get them to come back into the gym come June or July. But
right.
One of the other questions is, what should I be looking for in a gym or a school, whether it's for myself or as a parent for my kid? What attributes really stand out? What things are a must-have, and what things would be nice to have, and definitely what things should they avoid? If I'm looking, as somebody that has nothing to do with martial arts, looking into it for my kid, what do I have to stay away from, and what should I start looking for?
Man, that is such a huge, all-encompassing question. It's hard to answer.
Absolutely.
Obviously, having been in it for years, it's easy to look and go, well, that gym's no good. That one's great. That one's sort of in the middle. It's hard to tell. I mean, obviously, I would say pick a school. These are just in no particular order, but pick a school where they practice an art that has a competitive element to it. And that doesn't mean you have to do it, but like, if you want to go do, let's say, you're looking for martial arts, and you can go to a Tai Chi gym or you can go to a boxing gym. Well, how do you know if Tai Chi works? They don't do any competition. And that's a bad example because Tai Chi doesn't really present itself like a exactly. Self-defense style. But whereas if you want to know if boxing works, it's easy to see. You can find boxing anywhere, and it's easy to see. And I had a buddy of mine tell me that a long time ago. He goes, look, if you want to know the best way to do something, find the people that do it for money. He was a guy that raced motorcycles, like bullet bikes. Right. And we were talking about, you had a motorcycle, right?
Yeah, still do.
Yeah, the gear shift is typically 1 down, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, right? And on the race bikes, they switch it. So it's 1 up and 2, 3, 4, 5 down. They change the gearing, so you're actually stepping down on the pedal. And he said, look, all the high-end racers do this, and this is why. So if you want to know the best way to do it, look at them. Exactly. The guys that are racing for millions of dollars, they do it this way, so that must be the best way to do it, at least in that context,
Yeah, they have something on the line, and they want what is going to be most efficient and most effective.
Exactly. So you want to know the best way to punch? Look at the people that punch for a living and make money doing it. Well, boxing is clearly the best way to punch. Mm-hmm. You want to look at the best way to do, takedowns? Look at wrestling. Those are the guys that are competing for Olympic medals. That's obviously the best way to do takedowns, and there's some variants there, Greco and freestyle and that kind of thing. But that's the thing. So find a gym where you have an element of, they train in a sport that has a real competition element. Right. Don't find a gym where they're like, well, we don't do any competitions because we're too deadly. Obviously that's not the best way to go. Another thing that you need to make sure to do, obviously, is find a gym that will allow you to come in and try it out for some amount of time. Yep. Whether it's a week or a day or whatever, because if they're going to force you to sign up before you get a chance to meet everybody, mm-hmm. then there's something wrong. You should be able to come in and meet everybody and maybe train a couple of times and get a feel for it. Not necessarily free. Maybe it's maybe it costs you $50 for a month or whatever, but
you get to know
something where you can kind of, because it's important to find a gym a surrounding where you fit in, where the personalities mesh well. There's a lot of gyms that are good gyms with quality people, but you're just not going to fit in there. It's just or they don't fit for you. So finding a good gym that fits other than the training aspect is important as well, because you want a place that you love to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Some place where the curriculum has been stress tested, pressure tested
Yes.
through competition, and it's not too deadly to try out.
Yeah.
It's huge. And then obviously, just like we do at Lightning Kicks and Elite Performance, we'll let somebody come in and try it, see how they fit in, not necessarily just for their benefit, but also for the team's benefit, to make sure that it's a good fit for the team as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So those two things are huge. That's about it, Jeremy. I want to make sure that in front of all these millions of viewers, I'm getting your commitment for our 18-year anniversary. Have you in California in June?
Absolutely, yes. I saw the message you sent me. I will absolutely be there.
Awesome.
I wouldn't miss it.
Those of you that don't know what we're talking about, June 2nd is Lightning Kicks' 18-year anniversary. It's been a crazy ride. Jeremy knows, and anybody else that does martial arts for a living knows that there's a ton of ups and a ton of downs, but we stuck through it. June 2nd is our 18-year anniversary, and I'm having all my teachers out. Jeremy's my MMA teacher. Tom Lin is my jiu-jitsu and taekwondo instructor. Buyu is the head of our Go Squad Jiu-Jitsu Association. He'll be coming out. So June 2nd, try to make it to Lightning Kicks that weekend there. We're going to have our big 18-year celebration. And Jeremy, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. And,
my pleasure, man. It was good talking to you again.
But we'll talk before that.
All right, sounds good.
Have a good day.
You too.